What's going on, my people? Welcome back to another episode of the Stop the Count podcast. In this episode, I will be talking about the UFC Fight Night, the PFL Playoffs, headlined by featherweights and light heavyweights, Chivas' participation in the League's Cup, and I might get into a little bit of the boxing schedule. First, talking about the PFL playoffs headlined by featherweights and light heavyweights. I'm not a big fan of anyone that is still left in the playoffs, as movlidkhaybulaev was supposed to fight on this card but unfortunately had to pull out due to an undisclosed injury. Movlid was replaced by chriswade. Honestly, I'm not interested in any fights on this card, as both brendanloughnane and Movlid are not going to be participating in the playoffs. And for the light heavyweights, again, I'm not a fan of the heavyweight classes, so I could honestly care less about this weight class. It's already really thin due to the PED buzz from earlier this year. Now, for the UFC Fight Night headlined by corysandhagen versus robfont. Another Dagestani was supposed to be on this card, and that was umarnurmagomedov. Umar also had to pull out of this fight due to an injury, but Umar's was a shoulder injury suffered during sparring. All I could hope for is for Umar to fully recover from this injury and come back at the same level, if not an even higher level. But now for the card, starting with some fights and fighters I'm really excited to see. The first is jakehadley versus codydurden. Another Nurmagomedov was supposed to be on this fight and fighting Jake, but sadly Saidnurmagomedov had to pull out of this fight due to injury. Another fighter on the card would be Carlstonharris. He's a hell of a fighter, and if it wasn't for his age, he'd be a perfect prospect. Also on the card is ignaciobahamondes versus ludovitklein. This fight is going to be probably my sleeper for fight of the night. Two very explosive fighters with knockout power, but Klein is no slouch on the ground. He's very dangerous, and Bahamondes is going to have to think twice about following him down there. Another fighter I'll keep my eyes on is diegolopes, the Brazilian who is a BJJ black belt that trains and coaches out of Mexico, is a good fighter. He gave highly rated prospect Movsar Evyayev a run for his money on short notice, and is someone we should keep our eyes on. The co-main event for this card is Tatianasuarez. After coming back earlier this year, it looks as if she didn't lose a step. You might not like her style of fighting, but I do. She is very good on the ground and is probably the best female wrestler in the UFC right now. She's fighting a very tough opponent in Jessicaandrade. This fight is not in any way an easy fight for Tatiana, but I just don't see her losing this fight. For the main event, corysandhagen versus robfont. They are both coming off of great wins. Corey, a decision win over Chito Vera, and robfont, a knockout win over Adrian Yanez. This fight is going to be amazing. They are both amazing on their feet, and this fight will 100% be mostly spent on their feet. They both have never been knocked out before, so I would be expecting a 5-round banger from these fighters. Corey is someone who is very creative. He'll hit you with every part of his body, and he's always dangerous. It's very rare that you'll see a fight of Corey's and his opponent isn't cut or bleeding heavily. Corey does work on the ground, staying in top control and winning some rounds. But now for robfont, he's also a great boxer as well. He does have a fast, hard jab. I don't believe he will try to take this fight to the ground or even the clinch, although he does have decent clinch and ground game. I just don't believe he'll want to be in the clinch with Corey due to his elbows. Now, Rob has been stunned before, but like I said, he's never been knocked out. I do believe Rob's offense is his best defense. Rob does waste a lot of energy in the beginning, so I would hope this fight doesn't last the 5 rounds for Rob's sake. If not, we've seen Corey's gas tank hold up, and I'm pretty sure we've seen Corey's power could get anyone out there early. But for our entertainment, a 5-round fight would be amazing. For who I see winning this fight, I see corysandhagen winning this fight by knockout. It has a lot to do with the stamina. If Rob's not able to get Corey out there early, it's going to be a long night for him. Now, talking a little bit about boxing, I'm not really going to get into the DAZN card because I don't really like how Jake's been selling himself as such a big pay-per-view star and all this bullshit. It's going to be a flop in my opinion. Natediaz has always been one of my favorite MMA fighters, but I really just hope he's able to kick Jake's ass. It's going to be hard because that's not really where Nate's the best at, but fuck it. Natediaz by knockout is my prediction. Amandaserrano is also on the card, and she's one of the best women boxers we've seen. She's putting up her undisputed titles up against Heatherhardy, and I don't see this fight being a tough fight for Amanda. I believe she'll easily get a decision victory. Now for Chivas. Chivas came out with the same lineup really. Tala Rangel stayed at goalie while Pollo Briseño came in to replace Tiva and Alexis Vega started down the wing. As the time ticked in the beginning of the game, Chivas looked like the second best team on the field. Sporting had all the clear chances to start. They were really capitalizing off of all of Chivas' mistakes in attack and defense. Tala had a couple good saves, but it really just felt as if it was only a matter of time before Sporting put one in the back of the net, and of course they did. And it was off of shitty defending from the whole Chivas team. A lack of concentration and communication was probably the biggest factor into Sporting getting this lead. But honestly, we can't take away from a great team goal from Sporting. From that point on, Chivas were really dominated on the ball. Absolutely dominated. Sporting was putting on a clinic and showing our quote-unquote star midfielders how to control a game. Chivas had no attacking threat the rest of the first half. The second half was a lot of the same. Chivas were not able to do anything. No matter what they attempted, Sporting was doing such a good job stopping everything. Towards the end of the game, when Sporting started to sit back, Chivas obviously looked better attacking. Jesus Brigido came on and he looked as the biggest bright spot from the whole game. The goal really just wouldn't fall. Chivas lost the game 1-0 and thus concluding their participation in this Leagues Cup tournament. And yes, Chivas played like shit. The midfield was bad, the attacking was bad, and the defense was decent. But Paunovic does not deserve to be crucified for this team's participation or the lineup he sent out. It's what we all wanted. We wanted Alexis Vega to start right away and Guti to come in and be a starter. And now everyone is going back on what they wanted. There's absolutely nobody that said Oso Gonzalez had to be the starter due to the first 3 games of the Apertura. But now on Twitter, everyone was supposedly calling for this, but it's pure bullshit. They can't do the job Pauno's doing and handle the situations he's handled. And for those saying he's not the right manager for Chivas, please shut the fuck up. Because I could guarantee you were one of those motherfuckers in May talking about how good of a job he was doing. Remember, anybody can send the players out in a different scheme or formation, but for Mexican players, the motivational factor has always been big, and Paunovic has a great motivational factor to him. Pauno is the best manager we've had since Matias Almeida, and we can't cut his proceso short, only because of a shitty Leagues Cup tournament that really doesn't mean shit. We need to all remain patient. We've waited so long and had to deal with so much worse. It won't be worth it if we throw it all away too soon. Chivas are going to be 3 weeks without an official game. Now I'll probably make a video or two talking about Chivas and some European transfers I liked, but we'll see. Thank you guys for staying until the end. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, follow me on Twitter at StopTheCount10. See you next week as I talk about what went down in these fights. See you then.